Hi guys, today we're going to be talking specifically about something quite technical, but something that should reward you with some really good results. This is bias effects. I'm sure a lot of you guys who use iPads who want a decent guitar sound have seen this before. Bias effects, as far as I'm concerned for iPad at least, has the best kind of overall quality of any guitar amp simulator that we've seen. But I'm not the biggest fan of their cabinets. The amp heads sound great to me, and the drive pedals and all the delays and stuff sound great, but the cabs, I'm not a big fan of. Now, what I usually do with virtual amps on a PC, on a Mac, on any laptop, or sometimes in the studio if I'm not miking up a real cab, is I use what's called an impulse response. Now, up until now, that has been the domain of PCs and Macs only, but I've found a way to do this on iPad, so we're going to cover this today and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the amp that I'm using just for the demo, just to give you an idea of before and then after, this is the 92 tread plate, so essentially a Mesa dual rectifier with a tube screamer in front of it with no drive on it, so it sounds a bit like this. Now, if you listen closely, if you listen closely to the kind of how close and claustrophobic it sounds, there's just something about it that's just not right to me. So that. Yeah, it's not quite there. Now, what I've found poking through bias effects is if you've seen the video in this series where we use a real power amp and real speakers, the way that I found out that that was even possible is down the bottom, there's an output setting where you can turn off the cabinet. You can turn off the emulation of a power amp, you can turn off any section. So if we turn off the cabinet, so this is what you would hear with a real guitar head if you just took a channel straight out of the head, and I'll warn you now, it sounds awful. But that's why a lot of amps have something like an emulated out or a headphone out, because without the cabinet, it sounds like that, and it sounds like a large wasp in a small jar. No one's a big fan of that. But I've found an app. Now, some of you may have seen an app called Audiobus. This is something that I use a lot, and that's actually how I'm recording the audio right now. Audiobus is this little tab at the side, and I'll show you Audiobus. Audiobus on the iPad Pro, if I switch to it, is actually quite simple. So I've got bias effects on the left, and I'm going into Cubasis, and I'm recording the audio into Cubasis so that you guys at home can hear this without me having to wire up some extra complicated rigging. So if I go back to Audiobus, there's a thing in the middle that says effects. Now the effects, now we've turned off that cab, I'm going to press plus and I'm going to open an app that I've installed called Fiddlicator. Fiddlicator is, and then we tap it to launch it, is an absolutely bizarre, there we go, thing, because apparently it was designed to make things like electric violins sound more like a real violin, and the way they do that is with impulse responses. So what an impulse response is, you see this line here, is originally they were designed to capture kind of reverb. So if you took a microphone out into, say, a big reverby room and a speaker and just recorded that that you get from that, that could be recorded and you'd mathematically remove the original and what's left is the reverb. So then you can use that using this kind of clever technology, so that any sound you then put through that would go in exactly the same way, so it captured all the characteristics of that reverb. Now, the reason that's relevant is that at some point someone worked out, if that works for reverbs, why doesn't it work for other things? And it does. So someone worked out that if you run a signal through a guitar cabinet and record if you record what comes out and then mathematically work it backwards, you can get a very convincing kind of mathematical replica of the original equipment with the original microphones in the same place and that kind of thing. So you can have pretty much any cabinet in the world with any mic choice, as long as someone goes to the effort of making that impulse response and you can get hold of that file. That's what you can do. So this is with nothing on. If I just bypass this, this is Fiddlicator. It's got a lot of knobs. It looks quite complicated. But this section at the bottom is just an EQ and a delay. You don't need those. They're just nice extras. The only bit you really need is this top part. So I've already gone in through iTunes on my PC and I've dropped in an impulse response. And the one I've chosen is the impulse response from Celestion that's just come out. Okay, so this is with it on bypass. So we get... it's very spiky, but also it's quite flat sounding. So if I turn this on, this is the Celestion Vintage 30 impulse response they've just released. That's the Chenzo Townsend mix, and it sounds like this. And you hear how it's not just made it kind of softer, it's also made it kind of sound more spacious. The difference between and terrible chords aside, that's arguably a lot more realistic. And as a result, I think I'll be using Bias Effects and Fiddlicator for all my guitar recording on the iPad from here on out, because it's got that extra realism, that kind of... Celestion are also releasing a whole new set of impulses for all the different speakers in different combinations, which I'm going to be checking out in a video very soon, so stay tuned for that, because if this isn't quite your sound, there probably will be a variation in there that suits what you're looking for, and that's what I'm aiming to try and do. And at some point I may go into a higher detail video about this as well, because there are things like you can shelve off the ultra low and ultra high frequencies so it doesn't quite sound so nasty, because quite often guitar mix engineers will shelf off the subs and the ultra high stuff to stop it sounding kind of gritty, but that's as well as the impulse response. That just gives it that more woody kind of guitar tone, a bit more naturalness. Also helps it fit a lot better in a mix. So hopefully this has been quite useful for you. So thanks for watching. I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pole Studios. Hit the like button if you found this useful, and please subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this, and also computer building tips and audio production stuff, because that's what we're here for, that's what we do. And if you'd consider helping us on the Patreon campaign, that would really go a long way to helping us make more of this kind of stuff. Thanks for watching, we'll see you soon.